Greetings, salutations, and welcome to Sportslook, the sports television program for the high plains of West Texas and eastern New Mexico. I'm your host, Doc Elder, and while education might have the 3 R's, tonight on Sportslook, we've got the 2 R's. We've got Riley Price, the head coach of Greyhound Baseball. We've got Reagan Hardy. She's the head coach of the cheer squad. I'll finish up with an overtime, but as always, I'll start out with an Eastern recap. Greyhound men's soccer played St. Mary's this past weekend. Unfortunately, they dropped that contest. Greyhound women's soccer, they played against St. Ed's. Unfortunately, they dropped that contest. Greyhound volleyball played a home match Friday night, a home match Saturday. Unfortunately, they dropped those contests. And the Greyhound football team had a lead late in the game against the number 20 team in the nation, Angelo State. Just couldn't quite hold on, and they lost that contest as well. Well, that has been your Eastern recap, so we'll clear this out and we'll bring in Riley Price, the head coach of Greyhound Baseball, right now. Welcome back to Sportslook, and we welcome back to the set of Sportslook, the head coach of Greyhound Baseball, Riley Price. And Coach, welcome back to Sportslook.
Thanks for having me, Doc.
Coach, we haven't had you on since the end of the regular season, and that's a shame because you guys did something at the end of the regular season that not many Greyhound baseball teams have ever done.
Yeah, no, it was a special year. I was really proud of that big group of seniors that we had. We graduated 13, and the whole year last year, our goal was to make the playoffs. Because I think anything can happen if we have a team that makes it into the playoffs. It's anybody's ball game at that point. It's kind of a new season. But matching up against the 1 seed as the 8 seed, it was tough. Angelo State's very good. It was a good challenge. I had a feeling some of their top arms would get drafted last year, and they ended up getting drafted, and they go on to win the national championship. So I think in the last game of the playoff series with them, we lost by 3 runs, and so I was cheering for them to do well, in our conference to do well in the postseason, and so they had a really good year.
Yeah, there are obviously 2 ways you can approach that. Number one is you want them to lose in the next round because they beat you. But I'm like you. It's like, I'd rather have the team that beat me go on and win the championship so you can say, hey, at least we lost the best.
Yeah, lost the best, and this conference is the best. It's really talented. I'm glad that Angelo State got to be in the spotlight there to take it all home. And we're even more excited to get to start off our season this year with them, game 1.
So, at what point in the season last year did you really get a sense that you guys had the ability to make it to the playoffs?
That's a good question. I think last year was just day by day. We wanted to kind of live where our feet are and be really present last year and make just week to week adjustments. We didn't look too far ahead. I think if we continue to think playoffs, every day and every week, our goal was going to be that. Well, what are we going to do the next game? How are we going to perform the next game? And then ultimately, if we prepare the right way and make those good adjustments throughout the season, then we'll be where we want to be. And sure enough, that was a playoff berth.
Well, you had some really special players last year, but looking at it, who was the most improved? Who was a kid that wasn't even on the radar in the fall and turned out to be one of your go-to guys?
I would say probably Dimitri Archuleta. He's one that has really struggled in the fall. Had a pretty rough fall. We made some adjustments, simplified his swing, and he really bought into the approach of middle, and if you look, that's where kind of his power showed, and he began to drive the ball to all fields, and so ended up really buying into that and being more comfortable with failing in practice in the cages and things like that. So he really matured as a player, and ended up getting an all-conference selection. So really proud of him on how much he improved, and we're looking forward to having him back this year as well.
And a native New Mexican.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's one thing that's really great is I looked at your roster last year, looked at your roster the year before, and we obviously get some kids from far away that are really good, but I'd have to say we get a lot of our talent from right here in the land of enchantment.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have a few freshmen this year, from Albuquerque area, one from Las Cruces, and Those two, right now they've really shown to make some big improvements fast, and if they continue to improve, I'm really excited to see what they're going to be able to do on the mound. And then Ruger Bravo obviously is a big arm as a senior coming back for us that I think is only getting better and better.
And he has the greatest name, Ruger
Yeah,
Bravo.
yeah,
That's the all-conference name.
it's a great name.
Speaking of which, we were talking before we went on the air about the fact that in baseball, no matter what level you're talking about, good pitching is going to beat good hitting. And who turned out to be your most effective pitcher this year or this past year?
Oh, that's a good question. It was kind of up and down. Ruger would have just incredible starts, and then the next week, he'd kind of go down a little bit, lose a little control. Same with Rubio. We've seen him throw some really good games. So I'd say those two were very productive, during their starts, but not as consistent as we'd like them to be. But I think this year the goal is to bring that, not have so many roller coaster ups and downs, is to kind of stay on the right track in the positive direction.
And because I'm an old school kind of baseball guy, I appreciate the little things. So when you talk the guys that could execute small ball, that could lay down a bunt, that could hit and run, who was your best small ball player last year?
Oh, I was not pleased with our small ball ability, but man, I'd have to say, Trio laid some great bunts down, and I think one of the proudest moments is probably Niles Durin getting some more playing time late in the year, and he came up in a big situation where I felt like he wasn't that comfortable during his at bat, and I think he had a strike on him, and I was like, you know what, they're not going to expect a bunt right here, and ended up winning us the game, and he got it down. So
Yeah.
I think that's really important. We didn't rely on the hit and run and the small ball as much as I thought we would last year. We had some power, increased our home runs and our doubles a lot, and we ended up leading the nation in triples last year, which is pretty cool. We just got a plaque for that. So, this year I think, the small ball is probably going to be more of our game. We have to be scrappier, as of right now. If the power comes, I think that's going to be a big bonus. But if we're gonna we need to limit the strikeouts, put the ball in play, and being able to manufacture runs through some hit and run situations, through some bunting. So, I definitely think this group needs to be a little bit more scrappier.
Riley, we talked about the fact that there are going to be plenty of new players because you did graduate to 13 and had a couple of kids leave the program for other reasons. But you're also going to have a couple of new coaches, from what I understand.
Yeah, one new coach. So we got Devin Howdeshow that came back as a graduate assistant. So he'll be with us again this year, and he's really stepped up. He's grown up a lot and really took on a bigger role for us this year, with us only having three total coaches. And then Coach Clark is brand new pitching coach. Spent I think 12 to 14 years as a major league MLB agent. Developed his clients himself and had several of those clients, be picked in the top 3 rounds. And so I knew the development piece was there, and I think that was the big piece that we were missing. As far as like this, the really gritty day-to-day development, and he's got the knowledge behind it, and he's done a really good job so far creating those relationships with our pitching staff and getting those guys to buy in and become better. So they both really are big helps, and with the amount of players that we have and three total coaches, we're spread pretty thin, but they get after it, and we really enjoy working together.
Well, I've got to ask the question, what was the allure of Portales, New Mexico that got Coach Clark here?
Good question. He tells me that I sold him on who I was, and that his biggest thing was being able to trust who his boss was, and how well they're going to work together and build that relationship. And I think we clicked, over the interview process pretty well, and I think his heart was in a good place. And he really just wanted to get into the college coaching and get out of the kind of the agent game, to be more in tune with players day to day, and really take a team on his back. So
Well, in the small world department, I had to rent a vehicle in Lubbock, Texas, and I talked to a young man named Colin Clark, and he said he was related to Chad Clark, and the name didn't mean anything to me at the time.
hmm,
But I was wearing an Eastern shirt, and he expected, and so now if I ever go back to Enterprise, okay, I know
yeah,
exactly who you're talking about. So,
yeah.
well, Coach, talk a little bit about the new guys coming in. In a perfect world, do you bring in all freshmen? Do you bring in all JUCO? Combination of both?
It just depends year to year, you know. I don't just go out and seek either junior colleges or true freshmen, you know, coming in. I just think they kind of come to us. You know, we find the talent. I don't care what age they are. You know, I tell our guys we don't have an age bias on our team. If you know, as you saw last year, we had 4 true freshmen pretty much in the starting lineup. So, you know, this year we did lose a lot last year. A lot of seniors. We have 23 new players, and only 6 of those are true freshmen. So, a lot of mix of a couple 4-year transfers as well. So we're excited about the talent that we brought in. And right now, just offensive, we're just kind of trying to figure out who we are, you know, as a group. And I will say, you know, on the mound, we're already deeper and much better. So, you know, there's a few guys we're really excited about. We actually have a few pro scouts coming in a couple weeks to check out a few of our guys that might have a chance to play at the next level with just the stuff that they have. So.
Well, Coach, obviously a question that everybody in this part of the world wants to know is, are you going to do your Halloween game again this year, or are your numbers so down that you can't really do an inter-squad game?
No, so you know, it's tough. We'll think about it. It'll probably have to be during the. We don't have lights yet, so our lights fell down last year, and so it's been kind of a hectic to get a, you know, a company and be able to pull that trigger on purchasing those. So you know, we finally just okayed it. They're gonna be in by finals week, I heard. So we are getting new lights, but right now to have that Halloween game, it's
Uh,
gonna be tough. Yeah.
It'd be a really spooky
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, congratulations on the success you had last year. I had the chance to broadcast a lot of your games, either commercially or for the Lone Star Conference Network. And great group of guys, great group of coaches, and let's hope that we can be in the playoffs again this year.
Let's do it. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, well, that is going to wrap up our first interview segment. So we'll clear the set and we'll bring in Reagan Hardy right now. Welcome back to Sportslook, and we welcome back to the set of Sportslook, Reagan Hardy. And Reagan, bless your heart, you weren't feeling well today, but you're a trooper, and we appreciate
Well,
your
thank
coming.
you. Thanks for having me again. It's lovely to be back.
Reagan, of course, I know you best as being the head coach of the cheerleading squad at Eastern New Mexico University. But every time I talk to you, it seems like they've added another responsibility. So, as of today, what are your responsibilities?
So today I am still the head cheer coach and then also the athletics business coordinator.
And what is involved in that?
So that involves all of the budgeting for the department, all the teams, and then like sports information, athletic training, sports performance, as well as just tracking their budget all year long, and then helping with sometimes to help with like travel, like scheduling travel, flights, stuff like that, all POs, just all the business stuff that goes through the office.
So, what's been the most interesting thing that you've learned as part of that process?
Um, there's been so many interesting things. Probably just like how expensive it is to run a sports team. Like you don't think just watching sports, you don't think of like the hotel stays or like the meals on the road or like pregame meals, postgame meals, stuff like that. Just all the like weird extra expenses that go into it.
And for people who have watched Sports League, they'll know the answer to this question, but for the people who are watching you for the very first time,
Mhm.
so what sort of a background did you have that prepared you for that position?
So I got my bachelor's in 2022, May of 2022, here from Eastern New Mexico University in accounting. And then recently in May of 2023, I graduated with my master's in business administration. So that was my background. Worked in a couple of different offices doing some businessy things across my undergrad and then finishing up my master's and actually finishing up my bachelor's too. I got this position and I've been going since.
There you go. Okay, so obviously you were invested in Eastern New Mexico University as an undergrad and as a grad. So talk a little bit about your experience as a student. What was your best class as an undergrad? What was your best class in grad school?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I loved all my classes, of
Good. I
course.
like to hear that. Our boss will like to hear
Yeah.
that.
My favorite, I'll be honest, in undergrad, my favorite classes were my electives. Like yoga was always my favorite class to go to. It sounds really weird, but I had a walking and jogging class, and it was super fun. Like the professor, she was the sweetest lady I've ever met. Like you just go in there, she would just chat to you. We walked and jogged. Um, my master's program was a little different didn't have any fun classes. My favorite class was probably like my capstone, just because I knew that I was done after that. But they were all, I mean, I learned something really valuable through every class, so I wouldn't trade any of them.
There we go. We
Yeah.
like to hear that as a professor and as a person who's invested
Can
in
I take my
Eastern.
answer back?
Yes.
I had you in my undergrad. Sorry, and that was my favorite class. It was all online though, so I forget about my online classes, but that was a fun class.
You've made my day, Rick, and I could just quit my job right now. Well, and here again, people are going to know this if they've watched previous episodes, but if they're just learning about you for the first time, there wasn't just a randomness to making you the cheer coach. You had experience with that.
Yes, so I did cheer my whole life pretty much all throughout middle school, high school, and then I did cheer when I first got to college as well, here at Eastern.
Yep.
So
You were part of the Greyhound cheerleading squad. I remembered you quite well. So, talk a little bit about becoming the head coach. What was the one thing about being the coach of the cheerleading squad that you didn't really know was part of the duty assignment?
um that's a hard one. There's a lot that changes going from being an athlete to being a coach that you just don't think of. Same thing with like thinking of like athletics from the outside, thinking of coaching from the outside. So many things. Like for one, just planning is so like bless all of my coaches I've ever had for all the planning they had to do because it's not the easiest. Just scheduling things. Community service, like as an athlete, you're just kind of told to like show up. And now it's like you're going out like trying to find people like, oh, like can we help in this way? Like how can we help here? So yeah, I would say just scheduling and everything that goes with that is the biggest difference.
So, what community services do you like to get involved in?
So right now, this year, all we've done so far is we helped with the St. Helens Fall Fiesta, and then that was a really good one. We did that last year as well, hoping to get in with some like uh, oh my goodness, I cannot think of the words right now. Like some young children, like go like read to the kids, like elementary school stuff like that. I would love to get involved with like the shelter and help out with the like animals at the shelter in some way or another. There's a lot of things that we've thought about. It's just like the logistics of
Yeah.
getting with everyone and finding a time.
Well, talk a little bit about this year's squad. How many are on the squad? How many females? How many males? And what sort of an age range are we talking about?
Yeah, so this year I have a really great group. I have 13 total, 11 girls, 12 males. Um, it's been really good. There, I have everyone from like incoming freshmen, like who graduated high school early, so we're like super young, to people who started college a little later and they're like mid 20s. So we have a wide range, but it's been really good. I have a great group this year. They're all super dedicated to the sport and they show up every day on time, early actually, which is amazing. So they show up and they're just ready to get stuff done right when practice starts, and it's been really amazing.
So, talk a little bit about the squad last year as opposed to the squad this year. What's different about the two, and in what ways is it going to be the same quality group of individuals we saw last year?
Um, I have a lot of returners actually. I think I have 8 returners, I wanna say, which is amazing because 'cause they've all, like, been on the team, so it's really great to just have, like, some that the younger kids or the newer individuals can, like, ask them, like, "Oh, like, what do we expect from this?" And they kinda know the answers instead of just, like, having to ask me all the time, like, "Oh, what are we doing here?" Like, it's nice to have that, initiative within the team that they just kind of ask each other for advice and, like, help with, like, games and stuff. They, like, look to the returners and they're like, "Oh, what should we do at halftime? What should we do at in between quarters?" So, last year was a bit different. I think I only had 4 returners last year, and I hadn't coached them before, so it was kinda like everyone's coaching style is different, so we were all kinda getting used to each other, but this year, yeah, I just think I have a great group. Like, they're just great kids in the classroom, out of the classroom, at the field, like, in practice. It's just great.
So, talk a little bit about the cheers that we do see if we go out to a football game
Mhm.
or a volleyball match or a basketball game. How much input do they have in the cheers that they'd like to do? How much is it like Reagan say, these are the cheers we need to do?
So we have a big list of cheers. We kind of reuse them year after year just because you get comfortable doing them. We do add some new ones because it does get kind of repetitive sometimes. But during games, I have like more of a standoffish approach. So I just tell them call a cheer every 30 seconds on the clock at least. and if like in between cheers, try to spirit and like get the crowd involved as much as you can. There are some times they'll be like, I mean, football is difficult. Like you never know if you're on offense or defense. We have to look at the scoreboard and see a little arrow that points to the ball. But sometimes they'll be like, "What was that play? Like, are we allowed to call this?" And I'll just be like, "Yeah, we're gonna go with it." So mainly it's them though. Like they'll be like, "Can we call this now?" And I'll be like, "Yeah," or they'll just call like our general cheers that aren't like offense or defense. They'll call it anytime.
And are these cheers that are traditional from like years past that you inherited and you're keeping, or are these cheers that you've heard various places and you think would be pretty cool to have at Eastern?
So I would say 95% of them are like traditional to Eastern. Last year I had all of my kids make up 2 cheers. So just like get some more on the list so that we could like have more to go through throughout games. And so we kind of just keep incorporating this year. I'll probably do that for basketball season, have everybody on the team make up a cheer or two. Some of them I made up last year and we just like kept going with this year. Some of them we like changed in between years, like the motions or something, just because there were like a lot that were the same. So, but most of them are like the words are traditional to Eastern.
In terms of, we've talked a little bit about the male, female, we've talked a little bit about the age.
Mhm.
Are the majors spread out across campus, or is there like one major that a lot of your kids have?
Mostly they're everywhere. We have everything from, like, early childhood education, I have a few education majors, some business, some fine arts even. I have a choir and band major. Um, they're all over the place, really. There's no specific area that they go into.
Well, if I remember correctly, Reagan, and we'll see what sort of memory I have, but you're a graduate of Carlsbad?
Mhm, yes, sir.
Okay, so a big school.
Uh-huh.
I happen to know a young lady who's a cheerleader at Dora, which is a much smaller school
Uh-huh.
than Carlsbad, New Mexico. Are most of your kids like big city high school cheerleaders in the past, or do you have a couple that were small school?
Um, I do have a few that are from a small school. I have a couple from here, like, Portales Clovis area, which they're not super small. I have one from, oh my goodness, Fort Sumner, which is
Hmm.
a tiny place.
Yes.
So, and then I have some that have never cheered at all. So just like came into college and decided they wanted to try it out.
Well, Reagan, if people go out and watch the football game, and obviously the football game is the most important thing, but
Mhm.
a lot of the football atmosphere is the cheerleaders. So, if there's one thing that you hope people who go out and watch and actually watch the cheerleaders and what they do,
Mhm.
what do you hope they walk away from the stadium thinking about your cheerleaders?
I really hope that they just think that they look happy, like out there, like they just are enjoying themselves. Cause that's, I mean, the main thing about a cheerleader is like you're there to like pep up the crowd and stuff, and that's hard to do if you look sad or angry or like you don't want to be there. So I just hope that everybody like sees like a happy group of individuals that look like they want to be there and are enjoying themselves throughout the game.
Well, Reagan, you look happy and you look like you
Thanks.
enjoyed being here. So thank you so much for being my guest. And I have seen your young ladies and guys in action, and they represent the university, and they definitely are happy and get the crowd energized.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate you.
All right. Well, that is going to wrap up the interview segment of Sportslook. So we'll clear the set, and I'll finish up with an overtime right now. I'm not sure if you're aware of it or not, but Eastern New Mexico University competes on the Division II level in the NCAA. There are well over 300 such schools across the nation, and the NCAA Division II gives an award every year called the Gold Award. It goes to the outstanding male associated with NCAA Division II athletics, the outstanding female. It's a really rigorous process. There is a narrowing that goes on, and finally, you have about 100, 150 people that are finalists. We have a finalist for the female award for the Gold Award. Her name is Alba Anaveras. She is the head trainer at Eastern New Mexico University. I hope when all is said and done, she is the Gold Award winner for this particular year. Well, that will finish up in overtime, and that will finish up an episode of Sports Look. I'd like to thank my two guests, Riley Price from Greyhound Baseball and Reagan Hardy, the head coach of the cheer squad. Once again, I had Miss Ashley as my floor director. So, for those aforementioned people, this is Doc Elder saying, so long.